run through this case where we have one positive, 0, and 2 negatives to show Descartes' rule. And if we can do this one, it should transfer to the others as well. But this one will have kind of an interesting result I want to make sure we're thinking about. So positive 0, let's say that's A, and our negative zeros, we'll say negative B, negative C. So that will lead to factors x minus A, x plus B, x plus C. And then if I start expanding things out, I'm going to start with my two positives just because they'll be a little bit easier to deal with, I think. So plus bx plus cx plus bc at the end. And then x minus A times those. All right, so x cubed plus bx squared. I'll kind of group these in regions again. X times c, so cx squared. And finally, bcx. Okay, now I've got negative ax squared. I've got negative abx. Now I've got negative acx. And finally, I've got negative abc. There's only a couple definite conclusions here. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kind of circle my regions just to kind of see how those group together and make this a little bit quicker, I guess. So x cubed is definitely positive. Think about this. The stuff that goes with x squared. You got negative a plus b plus c. So maybe I'll start here and work on that in a second. The next thing, let's just start with the plus sign. Minus AB plus BC minus AC. And then finally, ABC at the end is definitely negative. So the only things we really know for sure is that that's positive, that's negative. Now, let's look at some possible scenarios. There's kind of two things that could happen overall. So you got minus A plus B plus C. Either A is so big that you have something like minus 20 plus 1 plus 2, and you get a negative there. Or B and C are pretty big relative to A, and so like you have minus 1 plus 20 plus 3 or something. So we don't really know. This could be positive, this could be negative. There's no way to know for sure. It all depends on what the zeros are and how big they are compared to one another as far as just absolute value of the number itself. So here's the conclusion you have to kind of come to next. Since we can't determine for sure whether this is a positive or a negative number right here, I'm going to put plus or minus. And I'm just going to put it plus ABC, A plus B plus C. And the same thing here, it all depends. I mean, if this combination of B times C is a really big positive number, this whole thing might be positive. It could be negative. It really just depends on what the specific values of A, B, and C are, because we can't conclude anything for sure. So the same deal, plus or minus right there. And I'm just going to say plus AB plus BC plus AC. Inside here, these signs really don't matter at this point, because here's what I'm looking at. I don't really know if it's positive or negative. I do know this is minus ABC. So now we've got multiple scenarios that could happen. So let's run through every arrangement of signs that could happen. Now keep in mind, you're looking at the coefficient that goes with x cubed, the one that goes with x squared, the one that goes with x, and then finally just ABC at the end. So this will definitely be positive for sure. This sign could be positive. This sign could be positive. That sign's definitely going to be negative for sure. So if that's the scenario we have, you have one sign change. All right, next scenario, this is definitely positive. What if this was a minus? And let's just say that stays plus. Let's just change one thing at a time. That one stays a minus. Now you have 1, 2, 3 sign changes. Okay, the last thing to think about, what if both of these change? So this is definitely plus. What if this one's a minus? What if this one's a minus? That one's definitely a minus. You only have one sign change. So what you're going to see, what you can conclude, is that you have 3 or 1 positive 0. And this plus or minus thing, this is the key right here. This is what you're going to conclude most of these cases. And that's what's leading to, when you go through all the scenarios, that's what leads to these multiple of 2 less. Either it's 3 or it's 1, either it's 4 or 2 or 0. So that's the big kind of conclusion that I want you to see here. To make this a full-blown proof, we'd have to do what's called induction and show that this works for a 4th degree, and then it works for a 5th degree, and so on. So that we won't go that far, but this will be enough, I think, to really, this is the key thing I want you thinking about. It all depends on how big the A, B, and C are compared to each other. And you get these inconclusive cases, which leads to the number of possible sign changes.